Ladies and gentlemen, some big news coming today, March 27, 2023 from Geneva, Switzerland. We had a doozy of new releases, a doozy of discontinued models. But best yet, today is actually Marco of LB's birthday.
Yes, sir. It's a pretty good birthday present. Some new watches, new eye candy to look at. Some nice releases, some not so nice releases, but I guess we'll go through it. Let's start with.
Let's just say the beginning of your morning was not a quiet one.
Oh my goodness.
Neither was mine. I actually got up earlier today at 5 o'clock I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get to the office earlier. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Little did I know that I was dead wrong. I didn't get anything accomplished. All I was doing was answering people, trying to fill orders, trying to buy some stuff. But you know what? The trainer already left on a lot of these models by the time I woke up because Asia already did a whole bunch of damage. But anyway, let's get into the actual catalog itself and discuss what we like, what we don't like, what they changed, what they could have added, what they didn't add. So let's begin, I would say, with what they removed from the catalog.
Yeah, so 𝗙𝗲𝗄𝗃 line is completely discontinued. 𝗙𝗲𝗃 line is an interesting one, right? In that this is going to be like the second time that they don't have a 𝗙𝗃 line specifically. So when they released the 116400 GV, I think it had been like over a decade that they hadn't had a new 𝗙𝗃 line. Will they re-release a new one? Who knows? We'll find out. SkyDweller also got kind of new configurations, but they discontinued a bunch. Specifically on Oyster Flex, they discontinued the chocolate dial, they discontinued the rose gold with the slate dial, yellow gold black, yellow gold with the champagne. They also discontinued the two-tone white and the steel black dial, from what I can see, which is actually surprising, steel black dial being discontinued. And then Daytona.
I did question some of the choices that they made there. I mean, look, if you take any one of the watches in the lineup, obviously the best-selling one was a rose gold with the rhodium dial.
Yeah.
That was actually by far and away. Obviously, blue SkyDweller in steel and Jubilee or Oyster is number one, and I think a close second would actually be the rhodium dial. So I'm interested to know why they did that, but I think that overall, two-tone SkyDwellers, as we've known, have been some of the hardest sellers for us, and it's not really, and again, it's a watch now that if you are able to get it your AD, doesn't really bring any much of a premium. So we don't even really get many of them in. We tend to buy them pre-owned because it's better to offer to our clients a pre-owned example.
Yeah, 100%. They also did a bunch of new, I guess, discontinuations from the Daytona line, right? So we're talking about the Panda and the Black is discontinued completely. 116500. Essentially, they discontinued the vast majority of Daytonas because now it's fitted with a new caliber and a new style bezel. So outer bezel is kind of metal and then ceramic kind of insert. So
and most importantly, the glide lock clasp.
Yes, which is awesome. You're seeing Rolex go back to that kind of new engineering. The best clasp in the business, in my personal opinion, is a glide lock clasp. So let's go through kind of the new Daytonas. First of all, obviously the Platinum Daytona, the new Oyster Flex models, even for example, I
think before we get there, I think it's important to point out like the elephant in the room, which being the discontinuation of the John Mayer.
Yeah, John Mayer.
That's very important.
That was massive.
So 3 years running, there was speculation in the market that they were going to discontinue the John Mayer. So what did I do as a head buyer? I bought up a bunch of John Mayers. In speculation, right? Probably wasn't the wisest move at the time, made some money, lost some money, whatever. This year I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it this year. I'm going to learn from my past mistakes, so I'm not going to do it. And what happens? They discontinued the John Mayer. That's where my phone started blowing up off the hook. People that wanted, they didn't want to pay 30% cheaper than it was last week, because they're like, we're going to wait. Well, this is what happens when you wait. And they actually, which I believe was a really good move on their part, discontinuing the meteorite dials. Because what that does now is that makes that watch, whoever owns it, just that much more exclusive.
But it'll be somewhat interesting to see what the market price of that will be, because the original 116509 meteorites, the one where it was a full meteorite dial without the black subdials, were, I mean, for lack of a better term, dogs. They still are to a certain extent. They don't trade that much, like that high of a premium, considering the rarity of the actual dial. So it'll be interesting to see how the market shapes up, but they only had a 1.5 year-ish
Probably
production
1.5 year.
Yeah, about 1.5 year-ish production run. So not that many floating out there, specifically in the meteorite with the black subdials. John Mayer also. I gotta ask, in terms of price prediction, they did the yellow gold green and also the white gold blue, which is not often referred to as the John Mayer, although it was also featured in the 𝗿𝗿𝗃𝗀𝗃 video. Where do you see the prices of those and, let's say, the meteorite dials going, let's say in the short term versus the next 6 months?
Look, I'll say like this, just kind of looking through my wholesale channels. Obviously, the number one volume in terms of trade was clearly the John Mayer. Well, it garnered the highest premium over any of the other models, A and B. there was a lot of buying, selling, and trading, a lot of speculating, and I know somebody that sold 20 of them for $2 million today.
Wow.
He bought them up a couple weeks ago, and somehow kind of gambled on it, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody really knew for sure that was going to happen. He made out big time. White gold blues, I didn't see much traction, didn't see much like people looking for them or people really selling them off. I would say
I've seen them actually get. I mean, I saw from what I saw in the wholesale chats, starting to creep up to that 52,000 where they were in the sub 40 range.
But that's asking prices because I actually saw when I say action, I mean people actually offering them and people actually confirming and buying them.
I got you.
With the white gold blue, you can ask us. I can ask 75 today. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that's a new market price.
Right.
It's only a new market price if somebody hits sold on the chat. Also, a few discontinuations in the motifs.
Yeah.
In the yellow, we have the yellow gold black one. We have a few examples of that.
It's true.
That's gone.
Dates. Yeah, the day dates.
The day date motifs are pretty much gone. But yeah, let's get back to the king.
Yeah, so new Daytona models. So there's been a kind of slight change. First of all, in the movement, they went from the 4130 now 4131. One thing that's interesting is the Daytona now has a display case back only for the platinum models.
For the platinum.
Yeah, as far as I know, right? Which is something interesting because Rolex hasn't done that in 90 years.
Yeah,
it's been literally 90 years since they showed off a movement before. So new Daytona and platinum, I think that's going to be a super popular seller. To have one, I think is a very smart move to start to go to this display movement model. The rest of the model line, I got to say, the new Oyster Flex dials are okay. What do you think of the new steel ones, the Panda and the Black dial?
Look, so this is a very interesting one. I was thinking about this on the ride over here, where you take an already existing watch that's clearly the fan favorite, the most popular model in the world, and almost aesthetically perfect. If I looked at that watch prior to Rolex making their changes, I don't think there really is anything I would do to it, right? So the question remains is when the 126-500s, that's the new reference, when they're released, I mean, how noticeably different is it going to be on somebody's wrist? I don't know. I don't know if you'll be able, if the average person will be able to point out the key differences.
It'll be interesting to see, right? It looks like it's going to be a slightly thinner bezel because it's metal. It's a metal bezel with a ceramic insert essentially now, as opposed to before where it was a full ceramic bezel. So I think that will actually slim down the profile even more of the Daytona, make it even more of like a more elegant chronograph, which is kind of weird to say, right?
I would never think that they would even need to do that. I mean, I've never ever heard anybody say, "Hey, Daytona's too bulky for me."
Yeah, it
was that perfect happy medium.
I will say this, I don't love the new subdials of the Daytona. They're a bit small, at least from the onset, from pictures I've seen, like IRL pictures, like people actually showing them at Watches and Wonders. They look a little bit small. I'll wait and reserve.
Did they change that?
They did change the subdial thickness. Yeah, so it's a little bit smaller. So it'll be interesting to see how it looks overall.
What I feel they didn't do was introduce something that was very different, right? Yeah, they made a skeleton back on a platinum. Yeah, they kind of made a few, I would say, facelifts to the already existing models. But I was waiting for that, just something that was just going to blow the internet up.
Yeah, like a nice skeletonized dial.
Something, skeletonized dial, we knew that wouldn't. Well, listen, never say never. They made a skeleton back, so we're on to something. They're also making titanium elements, and they're also making, they're being very bold with their new releases.
No doubt. Considering what they are.
Considering what they are in comparison to the past. So I was waiting for that like green dial something because we all know that green dials just kill it on the market.
So what I did like though was these new Sky Dwellers.
The Sky Dwellers, yes.
God damn, these are nice.
So I would say that their Sky Dweller releases trumped their Daytona releases just because of the not innovation, but aesthetic changes that they made.
Yeah, absolutely.
With color schemes and the discontinuation of certain models.
Yeah.
So let's start with the white gold Oyster Flex.
Which I think is a great look to it.
So I think aesthetically, a white gold black with an Oyster Flex strap will be very, very pleasing on the wrist.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I love the green. I love the rose gold blue. These were both phenomenal.
Incredible.
Also, all of these are getting glide lock as well. So that's awesome to see.
Very, very cool touch.
Yeah, awesome to see. I do agree with the white gold black. I will say, though, I don't know how popular of a seller it is because people...
It won't be. It naturally won't be.
Because white metal, white gold doesn't tend to sell well for pretty much everything. You look across the Rolex range, Day-Dates, Daytonas, etc. They don't, I don't know what, white gold, it's just you don't get the gold look, I guess.
Yeah,
you're paying the precious metal
there's still a huge market out there for consumers that want to be a little bit understated, that don't want to kind of flex or flash. They don't like colorful metal, so white gold is obviously much more subdued, and on Oyster Flex strap, and they know themselves that it's a precious metal, which is what matters to them. But the rose gold with the blue Sky Dweller, incredible. It's going to do extremely well. And then obviously the steel with the green.
Yeah, absolutely no question. Now I will also bring up the new GMT Masters.
Yes.
So there's 2 new GMT Masters.
Yes.
For the first time, the modern Jubilee bracelet is getting a gold or two-tone treatment.
I like it. At first glance, when I saw it, it's like when you're not used to seeing something and then you make such an abrupt change, because I remember I've sold, hundreds of GMT Master II yellow golds, 116, 718s in my career. So my eye is fixated on an oyster bracelet. When you see it on the Jubilee, it almost doesn't look real to me.
Yeah.
But when you put it out onto the market, it kind of has this retro fit to it, right?
Yeah.
Which I think could work.
It's a modernized retro look, if that makes sense,
I
right?
like it.
It's very oxymoron.
I am a fan. I got to say I'm a fan.
I do agree. I would love to see also this two-tone Jubilee treatment on the root beer. I think that would explode. That would be really, really nice. But yeah, I like both of these. I will say though, these were never very, very popular models. Even you look back at the 116-719LN or whatever the 718LN. Those are, you can get that like all day under $15,000, right? So we're talking about a two-tone GMT.
Oh, 116-713. You're talking about the two-tone.
Yeah, the two-tone.
Two-tone.
Sorry, the two-tone.
Yeah.
The 116-718 also has never been, or the 16718 rather.
So the 116-718, it actually gained more popularity after people actually realized that they were able to take the yellow gold with the black dial, send it into Rolex, get a service green dial.
Yeah.
So that kind of pushed the market for that piece up a lot. But yeah, with the Jubilee band, I'm excited. That's one of those where I feel like I have to see it in person type of thing, but I feel like I still will like it in person. Because there's been situations where, I've covered this topic many times, Watches and Wonders and Basel World, where you see something on a picture and it's like, wow, and then you get it in real life. And you're
not that, and vice versa. Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, the last one, I don't have it pulled up here, but it's that new dress watch from Rolex. So it's kind of a yellow gold with an Explorer dial. I don't know if you've seen it already. It's been interesting because people have talked about kind of dress watches from Rolex coming to the fold, right? The idea that that's really the only thing missing in their catalog. They're probably the king of
They tried with the Cellinis.
Yeah, they tried, but they were pretty unsuccessful. Right. The only one that did somewhat well was the moon phase one, right? And then they came out with this. It's interesting because you see Rolex going away from their typical standard. Display movement, Explorer kind of dial. So they're meshing, if you will, sports and dress, which is that sweats and dress kind of theme that we've been talking about pretty much all year. So it's interesting to see Rolex kind of do something new. I don't know if they're going to continue to expand on this model line, but I would like to see it.
Yeah. So moving on from the GMT Master II, there were a few additions to the catalog, and I think the one that I would probably like to talk about next would be the Explorer. In my opinion, this was the most underwhelming release that they did. Because in essence, how many different case sizes can you try with the Explorer? To me, this is them saying, hey, we tried with the latest release of the 36, didn't work out too well. The other side, 39, didn't cut it. Now let's try a 40. It's almost like leave the Explorer alone.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I would say, where an Explorer fits into the catalog. I agree. What does it fit? Like what need does it fit?
Yeah, the thing is it's somewhere in between a Submariner and an Oyster Perpetual.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the issue. It's kind of stuck in the middle, if you will, and it doesn't really have a place. I think that it is that if you want just one Rolex watch to do everything with, an Explorer is probably that perfect watch. It's a good price point piece also. But I do tend to agree. What's the difference even between this and the 214-270 or the 39mm model? Why would anybody go for the new 40
and pay a premium?
Yeah, and pay a huge premium. I just don't get it. I don't see the vision on this. I tend to agree. It's just boring because it's what we've already seen essentially.
You hit the nail on the head there with boring, right? I'm not too excited about it. Again, it's one thing that I'd like to see in person, but I can't imagine a millimeter size difference is really going to wow me or disappoint me in any way. So this is I feel like this is just going to kind of get lost in the background somewhere.
Absolutely. And then let's talk about something that kind of...
Yes.
I really liked. I don't know how I feel about the case size, 42 millimeters. That's my one gripe about this release, but I love the use of titanium. I love the kind of look of it. The only thing other than the case size was I wish it was on a ceramic Oyster Flex bracelet rather.
So again, this is also one of the more bold things that Rolex has done in a while. They came out with the Challenge Deep Sea, and when that came out, we're like, this isn't even real, right? this is fake news essentially, right? But they came out with a titanium version that was humongous, and I feel like that was the starting point to something new. And I feel like you're going to see a lot more titanium type watches in their catalog. I'm excited for this just because of the titanium elements. I tend to really like titanium watches. They're light. I agree with you on the 42 millimeter case size. Because a lot of times when Rolex has done a bracelet with a bigger case, I call it
proportions
lollipop,
are thrown out.
Right? They did it with the Deep Seas and a few other models. So the jury's still out on it. I like the idea behind it, but we'll see how the execution is in real life.
So I tend to agree with you. I think the best part or best takeaway is Rolex showing that they're going to be using titanium.
Yep.
I think some models that I'd like to see, one is the Sky Dweller, especially if you can get like a titanium Sky Dweller on bracelet, it would lighten that watch tremendously.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think one of the gripes that people have about Sky Dwellers in comparison to any other watches in the lineup is the heaviness behind it, because it is a bigger case size. It is the thicker case. There's a lot more complications going on in it. So actually if they did a titanium Sky Dweller with the green dial, that thing would just absolutely kill.
Yeah, I think titanium Sky Dweller is going to be something for the future. And then the other thing I'd love to see is a titanium Daytona. Racing machine on the wrist, lightweight, titanium Daytona. Make it skeletonized. And then, no, listen, I don't know if a skeleton Daytona, but I think the two model lines that need the titanium treatment, not even the sub. I would keep the sub only in steel, keep the sub in steel, Sky Dweller for the weight, and then second the Daytona also for the weight, right? Makes it more of a racing watch, if you will.
But look, the use of titanium, let's say for Rolex, right? It made the most sense on that deep sea challenge because you want something light on the wrist that you're actually diving in.
Yeah.
But
it's an instrument. It's a diving instrument.
It's an instrument. So from an instrument standpoint, where does that watch make the most sense? Does it make sense on a yacht if you're a yacht master? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they did it.
Rolex is headed in a better direction, right? We saw some pretty lackluster releases the last 3 years. They're starting to get with it. They're starting to do things that are new and fun and interesting, as opposed to a few years ago when they weren't.
One more thing I like to cover, man, there's so many different topics to cover within Rolex. That OP.
Oh yeah, the new what's it called?
It's basically they took the whole OP lineup in one and just went and threw it up on a wall.
It's those what's those playgrounds with all those balls inside of it? You know what I'm talking about?
The balls?
Yeah. Oh, hold on one second.
They have a McDonald's actually.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull up a picture of it because I saw this insane meme. It was hilarious. Here it is. Look at this. This is it.
Yeah.
It's this.
So essentially they made it a Tiffany dial, and then they're like, all right, let's do a homage to all of our OPs from the past. You have pink balls in there, you have yellow balls, you have red balls in there, you have blue balls in there, you got green balls in there. So it's like, hey, I don't know which OP to pick for myself. Let me just get this one.
I mean, it's a super gimmick.
This is gonna do super well in the
But
Asian
it's
market.
such a gimmick.
It is. But look, and then the other one that is arguably a gimmick is the Day-Date 36 that they made with the emojis.
Yeah, that's also ridiculous.
That's pretty cool. So essentially, they took a Day-Date, took the days out, and they made different sayings. And I actually have those sayings here. Let me pull that up. This is kind of interesting.
Even they came out with those new stone dials too, which are they're nice. Yeah. But yeah, nothing crazy on the Day-Date side.
So rather than the 7 days of the week, it displays happy, eternity, gratitude, peace, faith, love, and hope. Instead of the 31 days of the month, it displays 31 different emojis.
Nice.
Again, how well is this going to do in the American market? We'll see. But it's bold. It's a talking point against.
Is it Rolex taking a page out of 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏?
A little bit. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about the smileys and all the different lollipops and candies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, this is as close to it as it gets. But yeah, overall, what's your take on the Rolex releases?
I like them. I like it. I don't love it and I don't hate it. And I'll start with the reason I don't hate it is because they introduced a couple really cool pieces in there. It'd be the Sky Dweller, and they kind of push the boundaries a little bit with a few, even with these colorful OPs and the emoji piece, I think they're like the wheels are turning and they're trying to do something different. It's not boring anymore. Yeah. Rolex used to make releases and they were boring. What I didn't like was the lack of new Daytonas into the catalog. And for me, this whole year has been Daytona-centered, and I really wish that they would have done something really, really different. So overall, I would probably give Rolex, I'll give them a B.
Now, I'll say that I do really agree with your assessment. I will say this, it was a bit shocking in that they released a bunch of new Daytonas for the 60th, but nothing for the Submariner line. It is the 70th anniversary of the Submariner line.
That's interesting.
So that is one interesting thing. Who knows if they'll do maybe a second round of releases? Maybe they'll shock us. But guys, we'll have to stay tuned and find out.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments below about Rolex, the king of watches, how they performed, how these models essentially will do on the open market. I mean, I have my opinions about them. All of these new releases that came out there will trade for significant premiums over retail. And usually what happens in the market when new stuff comes out and it bumps the prices of the new stuff, it also, therefore, it bumps the prices of the old stuff. Because what happens is there's action, there's FOMO out on the market.
A rising tide raises all ships.
Exactly what this did. This FOMO thing that we like to call it made me spend a couple $100,000 this morning just because I felt like I was missing out. And I was like, I need to buy up some more stuff to offer it out to our clients.
Yeah, rising tide raises all ships, as they say. So I think it's a good release. It comes at a good time in the market. I think the market needed that injection of fun and excitement and FOMO, as you put it. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how the year develops. Hopefully we'll see maybe a second round of releases from Rolex, but we'll have to stay tuned and find out.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for tuning in and look forward to the next video.